Welcome to the Voice of Putnam County Business. This is the podcast of the Putnam County Business Council, where we will be discussing all things related to Putnam County business climate and economic development in the county. We have Nick DeAndrea, General Manager of Park Ford. He is a director of the Putnam County Business Council, and also Nat Prentice of Prentice Investment Management, LLC. Nat is also the president of the Putnam County Business Council and also president of the Cold Spring Chamber of Commerce. We will welcome our host right after a brief message from our sponsor.
When Country Willow Furniture found people staying at home instead of furnishing their homes during the pandemic, the store worried about the loans that fueled their dramatic growth. But Tompkins Bank knew that solid relationships, like solid furniture, last far into the future. The value of a bank in your corner, the values of a bygone era. Tompkins gives you both, and the best banking relationship you'll ever have. Tompkins, your bank of choice. Find out more at tompkinsbank.com.
Well, once again, we are back on the Voice of Putnam County Business. Nat alongside me as usual. Glad to see you, Nat.
I'm awful glad to see you too, Nick. You're coming along. You're coming along just fine. I'm really proud of you.
Appreciate it.
And we are very fortunate today because we've gone about as high as we can go here in Putnam County. Because our guest today is none other than the Honorable Kevin Byrne, County Executive for Putnam County, who is ably assisted today by his Chief of Staff, Dane. We call him the Great Dane, the Great Dane Pascacello, who is Kevin's Chief of Staff. Kevin, we're delighted that you could come. We know you're just finishing up the wonderful State of the County address on Monday night, and it seems to me you're going to do it again for somebody tonight, right?
Yeah, we have to do the formal presentation to the legislature, which is substantially shorter, but we make sure that we present it to them, which is required in the charter.
Yeah, and you got to be dressed and sit down, right?
Yeah, something like that. They might have changed those rules. We'll see how it goes tonight.
I see. Well, I was there. Congratulations to you on Monday night. It was a wonderful crowd, a lot of enthusiasm. You were in good form, and boy, did you cover a lot of ground. So we're going to give you an opportunity today to talk about some things particularly relevant to the business community that you perhaps didn't get the chance to develop as much as you would have liked. But let's go back first. We need a quick reminder on you. We know you grew up close by here, but give us a little resume of your high school years and then your pre-county executive years.
Ooh, okay. So born and raised in Putnam County, grew up in Putnam Valley, but in the Carmel Central School District. So grew up, graduated from Carmel High School, went to get my undergraduate degree from the University of Scranton in Pennsylvania, came back, volunteered on the Putnam Valley Town Planning Board. When I was a college student, I interned for then Congresswoman Sue Kelly.
Really?
One of my first jobs come back from college was a pretty bad economy back then, 2007. I worked for Westchester EMS as an EMT. I also volunteered as an EMT and a firefighter at the Kent Fire Department and Putnam Valley Ambulance Corps. And then ultimately, I worked hard for a couple of candidates. I was politically active. Got a job working for then Congresswoman Nan Hayworth. I became ultimately her deputy district director. And then after she lost her re-election after the redistricting and substantially changed the district, I moved on to working for the American Heart Association while finishing my master's degree at Marist College and got married and started my family. And then in 2016 ran for the state assembly. 6 years later, I said enough of Albany. I thought we did a lot of things that people thought we couldn't, but we were successful, and I can do a lot more good as an executive closer to home in this state. And my wife and I have since settled in Mayapack, or Mahopac, as some longtime natives will.
We call it Mayapack on this show, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I do too. When some of the more senior natives of Mayapack criticize me, I will say, I am sorry, I went to Carmel High School. You can yell at my teachers. Because back then, Carmel High School and Mayapack were very big rivals, less so now. But I have a beautiful son who's turning 5 in May.
Awesome.
And my wife has a busy career as a physician assistant. She's the senior PA at a hospital in the Bronx. And we're loving life.
What a resume, huh?
And how well delivered. My God, you feels like you almost were prepared for that.
Well, listen, first of all, I want to say it's great sitting next to a fellow Red Fox. That's my alma mater, Marist. I loved it there. And obviously you have been in this county, you are staying in this county, you love this county. You're doing a fantastic job. And I know that you have a relationship with the business community, which is why we're here. So tell us a little bit about how you feel about the business community in Putnam County, what we have to look forward to.
Sure. Well, I always said whether I was on the town planning board in Putnam Valley, which is it's a difficult town, not because of the town itself, but just the landscape, right? A lot of protected wetlands, there's not a lot of commercial tax base, but the same thing when I was there, when I was in the assembly as county executive, a lot of it is about giving the business community confidence and those that want to invest their time, their capital, their resources, that we're going to be there as stewards and we're going to be a partner. So I think in government where we can do that, we do that. Whether it's through the Economic Development Corporation or the IDA. So I'm a big believer in embracing business, both large and small, because obviously small business is the backbone of job creators across the country, and it's no different.
We only got one Ace Indico.
Yes. And then we have the Ace Indicos of the world. And then we have obviously one of the largest employers that you don't see a lot of politicians say. It is a lot of it's government, right? You have the school districts, the towns, the county, but you also have a very large employer is our hospital. And then you have some other mid-sized employers too. But we try to just promote that business and capitalism is a good thing. And doing it with a positive message is one of the reasons why we embrace the youth business market, which
Tell us about that. You made you talked a lot about that in the state of the county, and you had some wonderful pictures. Tell us a couple other things that we really understand it, and remind us when it's coming up.
Sure. So this started when I went to a conference about 2 years ago down in DC, and there was a group that won a scholarship that were promoting these children entrepreneur markets. And it was actually a group out of Utah. And it was a response to some really heavy-handed bureaucratic moves in Texas and Albany and Utah, where there was Department of Health officials shutting down children's lemonade stands because they didn't have a permit and they weren't collecting sales tax and all this nonsense. And so what this nonprofit set up was a cooperative to create these children entrepreneur markets where they all had broad exemptions and they could create and sell items, whatever they wanted, whether it was lemonade stands or 3D printed items. And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
We got to bring this to New York. And quite frankly, we had a similar incident up, I think, the Syracuse area in New York. And I'm like, why not in New York, and why not start in Putnam County? And what better place than our Tilly Foster Farm? We call it an institute, but it does a lot more than that. We have BOCES downstairs, which does great programming for children and teaching them how to cook in their food programming. Cornell Cooperative Extension is going to be there too. So we did the youth business market was our branding. Our youth bureau partnered up with our team at Parks, and we had over 70 different youth vendors, 600 people to come in and visit, and it was amazing. We had people from the Bronx come in to participate. We had people from Connecticut, Orange County, Dutchess County, all over the region.
Awesome.
And it was the place. And you could see kids, like I walked in there with some cash in my wallet. I left with none. But then I left with even less because everyone had like a Venmo set up. Everyone had a QR code set up. I mean, these were kids that are 5, 6, up to the age of like 15, selling bracelets. We had one child who was, had a special gift, and he was able to do a Rubik's Cube. And so like we could do it in 30 seconds. Wow. So what did he do? He created a little cheat sheet booklet and sold it for like $5. That's awesome. And I was like, I'll teach you how to do a Rubik's Cube. So to me, that's just an awesome thing. It's inspiring children to create their own businesses, and it's also showing like that we reward good work. And look, hey kid, whatever you earn, you keep.
Yeah,
that's your reward.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Wow. That's the pipeline of what's coming into Putnam County, right? So we want those young business innovators to grow, thrive, and stay in Putnam.
Yeah. Gosh, so Kevin, if your address could have been a half hour longer and you wanted to, and I'm glad it wasn't actually, it was about the right, it was about the right time. It was about the right time. But dwell a little bit more on some things that you want to make sure that the business community knows about, things that maybe you're working on, that you want their help on, that you want them to join with you in a joint effort.
Sure. Well, I think there's a lot of different discussion right now on sales tax, and I understand that that's kind of like it's always been a sensitive topic for the business community because, quite frankly, that is a tax that is being put on the consumers. It does allow us to rely less on property taxes, which I remind folks that businesses pay too, right? The commercial folks that they pay property taxes too. So if we can lessen that property tax burden, that's a big thing. One of the things that I did when I took office, a lot of folks said it could not be done, and I did it. We opted into a sales tax exemption for clothing and footwear under $110. So what that does do is it actually does reduce sales tax, but eliminates it for those items. Some of the biggest criticism of sales tax is that it's regressive. So it affects those with lesser means disproportionately more. By eliminating sales tax, because the state does not charge sales tax on those items either, it really does eliminate a lot of that regressiveness.
Yeah.
And I also think for those people that are selling those products, whether they're online and they call Putnam County home, or they're selling them in a small business here, and whether it's Cold Spring or Marshalls in Southeast, it's obviously easier to sell those products because I think that's a pro-business thing. It's actually in that circumstance, for probably the first time, you're paying less sales tax than Connecticut. Forever, we were like, oh, we can't compete with Connecticut. Well, it would be catastrophic to actually lower our sales tax. I cut it in half. Then I would have to be raising property taxes by double digits. But in that circumstance, they may have a sales tax holiday, but our exemption is year round. So for those items, you come to Putnam County or you call Putnam County your home and you buy online, it's no sales tax. So having business partners, advocate for the continued exemption or making that permanent, I think is very helpful.
That's a good thing.
And infrastructure, I always say, people that look to open up a business, they look at a lot of things, right? Big employers, they want to know, are my employees going to have a place to live, to work? Are they going to be able to have access to transit? Are the roads safe? So we have a very robust plan in capital infrastructure. So whenever we do that, having partners is a big deal.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing up the sales tax thing. I know that gets a lot of attention. And of course, all the towns are looking for you to give some of it back so that they can build stuff. But what they really ought to do is be in touch with you about your capital budget so that somehow or another, those two interests can be aligned.
Yeah, well, a lot of our capital budget is obviously on county infrastructure, but the county infrastructure exists in their towns. And we all know this, but it really was blown up for me or magnified when I was in the state assembly, because I would deal with local town, village, county, state governments, and people don't care if it's a county road, a town road, a village road, a state road. They don't care.
Yeah.
And it's all part of the same transportation system. So, the reality is one doesn't function without the other. So when we invest, close to $30 million in Fair Street or $15 million into Peekskill Hollow Road, those are vital arteries for those communities and for those people that commute to and from that shop in the adjacent communities. So it's also critical for our schools, for our fire departments, people that need to get to the hospital. So infrastructure is key for everything.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And you're 100% right. When a business is coming into a new place, that's something that they're definitely looking at. I mean, just if you look around here, there's certain businesses that are parking on the side of the street with their employees because they don't have room for parking. We're getting congested, right? It's obvious to everybody's eye that there's more people in this area than there were prior, and the roads aren't really necessarily set up for it, right? So infrastructure is a big key. So I'm glad that you're focusing on that. Thank you.
No, thanks, Nick. And I hope that our partners in town government are focused on municipal parking too. I know Carmel's got some exciting ideas and initiatives are trying to move forward, and the government does not move at the speed of Kevin Byrne, and it doesn't move at the speed of Mike Kazari, and it doesn't move at the speed. We all want to move faster, and unfortunately some of the things that we want to get done take a little bit more time, but I know they have plans to try to expand municipal parking in Carmel and Mayapack. And I think that would be, as someone that calls Mayapack home now for the last 10 years, I think that would be very good.
Yeah, no doubt.
So Kevin, you have achieved, and your address the other night and tonight as well is underlining this. I mean, you've identified yourself as a tax cutter. You've identified yourself as a transparency builder. You've identified yourself as an ethics reformer, if in fact it needs be. You've identified yourself as a supporter of the emergency services. You're also a champion of those that are somewhat less advantaged, and you had some programs, and maybe you would make a comment about them. A couple of programs that you were talking about that had to do with the mentally ill, had to do with pre-K kid. Tell us a little bit about some of the other efforts that maybe people won't get to when they read a summary of your speech right away.
All right, well, that's important. Thank you, Nat, because people ask, what do you do in county government? Some people don't even know. And I'd say, look, every level of government should be focused on prioritizing the health and safety, well-being of its residents. But county government really implements a lot of the services that the federal government and the state government talk about. They may create a program, but we're the ones implementing it.
Yeah.
So one thing that we've identified as an outstanding need from our community health needs assessment is transportation, but also mental health services and support. So on the mental health side, one of the things that we're very much driving towards is helping People USA open up its first mental health stabilization center in Putnam County, which is critical. And some people may look at that as as something that scares them because they don't understand what it is, but it's not a inpatient facility. It's not an arms acres type of facility. It's more like an urgent care where the goal is someone goes there to get help and connected to services later on, instead of them going to the hospital or the criminal justice system for their needs, which are two costly and overburdened systems. The other item that you mentioned, Nat, that we announced that's really important is our commitment to think differently. And I picked this up from my friend Mark Molinaro, who was there at the state of the county. He's been nominated by President Trump as the FTA administrator. So we're waiting on a confirmation, but that's he has been nominated. It's in the congressional record. But he, as county executive, created this initiative, Think Differently, and it's about making, thinking differently about how we approach delivering services to people of every ability. So two things in my first capital project plan. We added a special line for ADA improvements. I was just shocked that the county office building did not have a handicap ramp or an ADA accessible bathroom. And that is where I go to work every day. That's where the county clerk's office is, the DA's office is. That's where the legislative committee meetings meet.
Yeah.
So when the public wants to engage with our elected representatives, if you had someone that had trouble walk upstairs, they had to go through the basement, walk through a dark hallway, past a maintenance closet, get buzzed in by security, and then go up an elevator. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
So that's been changed. The other Think Differently initiative, that's the real big new one that we're really excited about, but we need everyone's help. I can't do it alone, is opening our first Think Differently pre-K educational campus. One of the mandated programs that county government provides is special education services for the pre-K community. So
That's something somebody told you needed to do, right?
yes. So we have early intervention programming is for like that age 1 or your infancy 2, like 3, and then 3 to 5 or 6 is the pre-K program. So right now, because we don't have a lot of those services in the county, we contract them out.
I see.
And we have to transport these children, and these children with special needs, some of them on the bus for almost 2 hours, which is unfair to them. And it also costs taxpayers a heck of a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now, with the advent of UPK with school districts, some of them are looking for also, joint efforts and shared services in a centralized location. So what we were looking at is what's referred to as a braided model, where UPK from school districts can have a presence at a centrally located facility with our special education pre-K programming under the same roof, save money on the transportation costs, and make it a better experience, a more compassionate experience for those with different abilities. And there's a great nonprofit in Patterson called Community-Based Services They have a facility called Inter Arts.
Oh, I've
and
been
they-
there.
Yep.
Yeah,
and they
that's
have
that's a good space.
It
You-
is.
You gotta find it, but once you
It
do.
is. Well, typically they'll probably be on a bus to get there, so
Yeah.
the driver will know.
Yeah.
But but they have a whole whole additional, tons of square footage that's not being used
Yeah,
that we could, use, for this purpose. But we do need the town of Patterson to get on board, and we have a lot of support from them. We need the county legislature to be on board. We need the school districts to be on board, and we've met with many of them, and there's a conceptual framework. But this is a lot, and it is bold. It's something that I believe in. And to me, it's like, I could have like wished for this to happen and hope that we can get together and get it done, or I can announce it, be
Yeah.
confident, own it, and really try to push this forward as an initiative, which is what I tried to do at our State of the County. And so far, we've got nothing but positive feedback.
good.
That's awesome. That's a great initiative. I mean, honestly,
That's gonna help some of your employees, maybe.
I mean, a ton of people in the county. I mean, from an outside perspective, I would just assume that that was already in place, right? Not knowing, obviously, that we're busing children elsewhere, when obviously now at one point you're gonna decrease costs and provide a much better experience for the children that are going to these schools. That's fantastic.
Kevin, that is such a good example of something you got saddled with, or the company got saddled with, a service you needed to, mandated to provide, but you figured out a way to make it more cost effective and just healthier and of higher quality.
Well, we're working on, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize our health department team. Valerie Kurtz is really working on the special education and early intervention programming. There's a lot of work, our law department works on this. And the school districts, specifically Carmel and Brewster, have very much been embracing this. But there's just a lot of steps to go that we need to get through. Anytime you have a big project, but this, I don't think I said the actual number. We're looking at this could save over $1 million.
Wow.
Save $1 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just on transportation costs. So the net savings could equal a little bit over $1 million.
Right.
That's spectacular.
So as a businessman, what other things can your county executive do for you?
I mean, listen, there's plenty of things that businesses like myself and others in the county that certainly need help with. It's just a matter of picking and choosing our battles, and understanding what you might be capable of doing and not capable of doing. So one of the things that I'm sure you've talked about and heard about is sewer on Route 6. Of course, it's a big one, and I've heard rumblings of potential startup of that happening. I don't know if it's true. Maybe you can incite myself and some of our listeners.
I would love to see sewer on Route 6. I know there was some attempts made by the prior administration that they got stymied by, I think, the access to the plant that was over in Somers. I think there was a lot of different political forces, quite frankly, and division over the amount of the capacity, and certain communities not willing to give it up in case, they want to develop more themselves. But if there's an opportunity to expand capacity, I know the town has talked about that, and the county could be a partner. It's something that I think would be good for all of us. So I definitely would like to see sewer on Route 6. A lot of times, our best way, since we don't have a county planning board, and nor would I want one, that's a whole added layer of government. The planning board, the zoning board is all at the town level, but we do have a planning, development, and transportation department. And our planning department commissioner, Barbara Barossa, has been very effective and helpful at partnering more with towns from all of them, whether it's the village of Cold Spring, town of Phillipstown, town of Southeast, town of Carmel. And sometimes we're able to tap into and help navigate opportunities for grant funding from the state and federal government. So that's something we always look at too.
Yeah, that, Kevin, thank you for that. I mean, I live on the other side of the county, and we've been really impressed over there, how often Kevin has been over, how he has opened up his departments to discussions with our town people. I mean, it used to be them over there in the county. Now there's a lot of first name basis. People know each other and are able to cooperate. Thank you so much for driving that initiative.
Well, one thing that might not be the sexiest topic to talk about, but to me, it's just good government. We don't really, because we're a small county, we don't have a large, robust like association of towns, but like a Westchester would. And I know town supervisors sometimes would meet regularly. And I said, look, I would be happy to come. But they weren't really meeting a lot when I first got elected that first year.
I've pushed John.
But it wasn't because they didn't want to, it's just someone's got to step up.
Yeah.
And I'm not a supervisor, I'm the executive. So I waited a year and I said, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. I'm hosting every other month and I'm gonna bring in a guest speaker, one of our county department heads, so you can hear from them. And maybe learn more about how the county can help you, because I would hear like, we don't get enough from the county.
Yeah.
A lot of times you do, and you may not be aware of it.
Yeah.
Like, you call 911, it doesn't matter where you are in the county. Our 911 center is the one that's picking up.
Yeah.
And same thing with so many different programs and services we provide. These towns don't have an HR department. It's the Putnam County Personnel Department that provides the services for all the town, villages, and the school districts. So we've had guest speakers planning, we've had personnel, we've had, I'm trying to think of who else at the purchasing, our Department of General Services. Because a lot of times the county, because we have the purchasing power of the county government, which is larger than a town, we might get a better deal or a contract on a bid. Well, now there's an opportunity perhaps for a town to piggyback off of our contract and maybe save some money and not have to go through that whole RFP process. But how would you know that if no one had a meeting and actually explained it? So we try to do that every other month. We've lagged a little bit because of the holiday, New Year, and the state of the county, but we very much are excited about bringing it back up. And it has helped build better relationships
Absolutely.
with our municipal leaders.
I can tell you that is absolutely the case, as coming from the town of Phillipstown. So we're gonna need to wrap this up in a minute. Nick, what else do we want to ask Kevin
Well,
about?
first of all, I was getting my haircut this morning from Councilman Lugo. And he made sure that I addressed the fact that you got the crowd hyped up yesterday when you met Hulk Hogan at ShopRite. Tell me a little bit about Hulk Hogan.
He was man, a few words, but he's a big dude. Hey, he's a big dude. Yeah, no, it was fun. I was given the directive from ShopRite to rally the electeds together and try to be as quick as possible because there's people waiting. We had one person that got there, I think at 4:50, 4:45. Waited there for hours and hours just to be the first person. And you know what? Testament to the people that call Putnam home. There was a child with a disability in a wheelchair. He let him get in front of him, which is awesome.
Yeah, great.
But I introduced him to Putnam County. Thanked him for thanked the Hulk for choosing Putnam County ShopRite, one of the best ShopRites in this tri-state area because they raise so much money for charity. And they said, "Welcome to the most God-fearing, freedom-loving, patriotic county in America."
I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm
Kevin,
sure he
thank
loved
you.
it too.
Thank you for coming. You're a born podcast guest. You've probably done this a few times, but you're
And he
very,
needs to come back regularly.
you know that if anybody heard that, that's the voice of our producer, chairwoman of the Putnam County Business Council, Jennifer Marr, reminding Nick and me, her co-host, to get you back on the show as often as our schedule will allow. We'll try to make it quarterly, at least a couple times a year. We'd
Happy
be,
to.
delighted to
Definitely.
have you back, Kevin. You're a real good guest.
So proud of
And
you.
Short commute.
thank you one more time for your efforts to involve everybody in the county in direction of things. Thank you.
Sir,
Yes.
Appreciate having you, Kevin.
Awesome.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Voice of Putnam County Business. Let's hear a word from our sponsor. Thanks for tuning in to the Voice of Putnam County Business, brought to you by Putnam County Business Council. We are sponsored today by the Promenade on 6. Promenade on 6 is a small business hub that is set in an industrial, modern, contemporary space that is proudly showcasing all different kinds of small businesses. You have to check it out. Go to promenadeon6.com and you will get an idea of what Promenade on 6 is. And also brought to you by Park Ford. Park Ford is located right on Route 6 in Mayapack. If you are interested in purchasing a vehicle, you're going to reach out to Nick D'Andrea, 914-774-0036. But I can tell you that I have personally bought and sold, I think, about 5 vehicles with Park Ford. In fact, I have bought cars that are not Fords through them just for the fact that I don't want to deal with any other service department. These guys are world class, whether it comes to buying and selling vehicles or getting your vehicles serviced, park, board.